So it is May on Delmarva, and the way that you know it's May is because we're lousy with tourists and college kids all at the same time. Today, within 20 minutes, I had myself parked next to a frat boy, and I could smell his Axe cologne from my car. And then a guy from New Jersey nearly ran me off the road because he thought he had to get to Route 13 right away, but of course you don't. We know this because you never have to get to Route 13, by the way, right away. It's time for the Todcast.
You're listening to the Happy Hour Todcast presented by GoodCleanFunLife.com. Find us on iTunes by searching GCFL and subscribe today.
That's pretty good, Tony. I'm glad you didn't hurt yourself too badly.
No, thank you very much. Hurt myself too badly retelling the story, or
Right. Well, maybe a little bit of both.
There was I wish sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, because I'm obnoxious and self-centered. I wish that there was always a documentary film crew following me, because I would have loved to have seen my face when I looked around and I'm like, is that DeHart? What the hell? And I look, and there he is in his freaking Mustang, getting ready to cross the street to go to the college. And then, of course, later on, the thing I have to say, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant because the story is a little bit more in-depth than I made it out to be. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I never get tired of saying it. I can't wait for the end of racism because the white guilt is killing me. So this guy from Jersey, he's on my ass because he's in a rush to get to the red light, and I have to turn off the off of the highway to go where I'm going, and I know it's a sharp turn because I live here, and it's not his fault that he doesn't live here. I totally get that, but I do live here, and I slowed down, and so he lays on the horn. And me being from New Jersey, the way I respond to someone laying on the horn is I slam on my brakes. As long as you want to push something, why don't we push the brakes there, fella?
Right.
So I slam on my brakes and I swerve off the road and go to where I'm going. And then as I pass, I notice that they're a black couple. And because my white guilt won't let me be satisfied with him being a jerk, I have to feel bad, like he's gonna think that. That it was that all right, because now my car doesn't say New Jersey. I'm in the South. I'm I mean, at least it says Mets on the back of my car, but it doesn't quite have a Dixie cross or anything, but it's still tough, and I want to be able to just hate everyone. And it's really hard for me to have to constantly give black people a pass because everyone else hates them, or because so many other people hate them for no good reason, that I feel like I don't get to hate them as deeply as I could if given the opportunity.
Well, and to be
my hate is so colorblind. I feel like they deserve to have some of it.
Well,
I don't feel like I can give it to them.
Is it the bad drivers that you hate, or just or just black people in general?
No. I hate people in general. Sometimes they're black, and that's when it gets confusing. Because I feel like I can't hate black people as much as I would like to hate them, not because they're black, but for whatever other reason.
Yes.
One of the stories that I like to tell is like if I come up on like a Lexus and it's going the speed limit, God forbid, right?
Right.
They're going 55 miles an hour and a 50. I want them dead, and then I pass them, and I'm like, oh, it's a black dude. Well, he can't go 60 miles an hour. They'll pull him over and shoot him, So I can't be mad at him, but but I've already expended hate on him that I now have to retract.
Yes.
And I would just love to live in a world where I never had to retract my hate.
Yeah.
Living in a world where I didn't have any hate is just out of the question. So.
Well, and of course, talking about current events, at least you don't own a NBA basketball team, right? And not.
I guess. I mean, but that's the thing. For me, it's not a racism. I hate people.
just to be clear, and I giggle uncomfortably, but just to be clear, you hate people, and I
wish I could hate black people more than I'm allowed to. Not more than allowed to, but more than I choose to, because I mean the last thing, because there's still guys like Donald Sterling in the world, right? So the last thing black people need is shit from me, goofball, right? So I would like it so if no one else hated them because they were black, then I could hate them when they were stupid.
That's right. Okay.
But right now I cannot. It's just I can't. I mean I can and I do, but it takes all the fun out of hating someone when like you screw somebody over and then you turn around and they're black. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't think I did that because he was black. I did it because I hate him just because he's stupid. And I want to like hunt him down and say, hey, just so you know, man, I didn't do that because you were black. I did that because I hate you because you're stupid.
My hatred is colorblind.
Right. My hatred is colorblind, but it is deep and it is white. So anyway, we've got a great show for you this week. All sorts of stuff. We skipped a week. We had all sorts of connection problems and issues, technical difficulties, chronological difficulties. We couldn't get it done last week, but we're back this week.
Yep.
And so let's start off with what did I miss the last 2 weeks?
It's been a busy week, and part of the reason we missed last week is because we had we were covering a golf tournament for the Starbird. It's like 24 years that they've been doing this golf tournament up at the Salt Pond. That was a lot of fun. Drunk people doing shots at every other hole. Actually, the Delaware distillery guys were out there. Have you been over to see them
I'm not. No, where are they?
They're on Route 1 over there, where over by the Midway Plaza. But yeah, they're doing rum and vodka right there in Delaware, and good people over there. But yeah, so that was last Wednesday, and of course a bunch of good and fun events here in Berlin. We had the Jazz and Blues Festival, which our friends from Baltimore area, the Shrapnels, came down and they played here for that. And then just this past weekend. In fact, I think it's probably worth even sharing for the viewers at home. If I can do a quick little screen share.
Sure, absolutely.
We had the May Day Play Day. So of course, the folks over there at Ocean 98, who we're very much good friends with, had a concert with 14 bands in the street. We had vendors set up. Of course, the beer trucks and radio station fun. The highlight of the evening was probably when the mayor broke the dunking booth target. So here's
that was just the force with just the velocity of his throwing.
It was pretty amazing, and we were there. I captured the picture of him dunking our friend Megan, who's the assistant director of awesomeness under Michael Day. Yeah, so good fun. Mayor breaking things, tons of bands, lots of Burley Oak. The rain fortunately held off long enough to be able to keep the sun at bay and and make for a nice day all day long. So yeah, that's where that's really what we were getting up to this past weekend.
This is going to be the last. Well, actually, I've never been. I'm sorry. I started the sentence. Now I have to finish it. I've never been a big into the May Day Play Day thing.
Yeah.
But that's not what I was starting to say. The Jazz and Blues is what this is. Hopefully the last one I'll miss, because as you know and as you know, I'm on a self-imposed Berlin ban until I finish out the book, because I can't add anything else to the book, otherwise it'll be like 4,000 pages.
Right.
But I finished it. I finished chapter 13 this week. I have 3 chapters left.
That's crazy. 13 chapters of this nonsense.
It's about 100,000 words are done.
Wow.
A little bit more than 100,000 words. We got a little bit more than what's 7 times 3, right? 21. We got about 21,000 words to go. I'm gonna knock it out hopefully before Labor Day, and then I will be able to come back and have fun. And it's kind of odd. I ran into Kate Patton and in Salisbury, and she's like, "Why don't you come to Berlin anymore?" And I'm like, "I'm on a self-imposed ban," and So.
and the ban is just because you don't you don't want to get any other ideas.
I can't take any more information, and I don't want the present to poison the past in my head, and I'm not good enough. But the reason that I told that story is because I want to tell another story. I've been listening for color to old Todcasts, so I can get some extra state of the beers, get some extra insights. And today I had the pleasure of listening to one where I wasn't there, and it was you and Brian and Mike Day.
Oh no!
And it was wonderful. I
don't even remember that.
No, I don't know if you recall it, but I'm gonna tag up on it a little bit because it's worth discussing a little bit. You and Brian were talking about the big weekend that was coming up, and it was, I think, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving 2012.
Right.
So they're getting ready for the holiday arts night and all of those things. And also, the skate company was coming to be new creation skate company or a new edition.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the cookie guy that does all the drawings. He's Mr. Solomon or whatever, right?
Yes, yeah.
So there's this dude.
Natural Concepts was coming.
Natural Concepts, absolutely. And so you guys are talking excitedly about what an awesome event it's going to be. And spoilers, it turns out to be an absolute disaster. And it was such a disaster that it made it into the disaster section of my book, like things that went so horribly wrong. Because you're talking about it, and you're like, yeah, they're going to come down. And Brian's like, yeah, they're going to make a movie, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, and all these cool things are going to happen, and they all show up, and not a one of them is 21 years old.
Right, they're all kids.
They're all children. And so there's children out in the parking lot, and cops sitting across the street, and Brian having a nervous breakdown in the bar, in the empty bar, because there's just cops sitting across the street, and kids skateboarding in the parking lot. And so eventually he had to have him pack up and go home. But it turned out to be it's a great story in the book, and it was great to hear you guys, like, the whole time you're talking. One of the best things that's ever happened to me, metaphor-wise, in my life was I was on my way back to Delmar from New Jersey, and there was this huge traffic jam. There was like a 4 or 5 mile backup, maybe 20-mile back. It was huge. Anyway, I was going to say 4 or 5 hours, and 4 or 5 hours isn't right. But it was a multi-hour backup, like a horribleness. On the northbound lane, we were in the southbound lane, and eventually it broke up after a while. And I saw people driving along, just cruising along at 80 miles an hour. And I said to my daughter Megan, I wonder how. I feel bad. Those people don't know that when they go around this corner, they're going to be stopped
right.
An hour. And Megan said to me, "Do you think they're saying the same thing about us?" And so whenever I'm writing about something that happened in the past, and there's foreshadowing because I know how it turned out, I'm always thinking, I always think of that story. Do you think that they're saying the same thing about us? So while I'm listening to you guys talk about how awesome, that is Pepper. While I'm listening to you guys talk about how awesome it's going to be, I'm like, no, it's not. And there's nothing I can do to tell you guys it's not going to be as awesome as you think it is.
Right. That's fun. I do remember when they rolled into town, because we say kids, but they were like, they were like 18-year-olds.
They were too young to buy beer, but maybe they were 20.
They were too young to purchase beer, but probably were adept enough at tasting beer at that age.
And that's the thing that Brian was nervous about. He's like, he'd been open for 3 months or whatever, September, October, November, 3 months, and he was having a nervous breakdown over it.
Well, and then to have, and I do recall the police sitting parked right across the street at Croppers just to make sure that everybody was, doing what they needed to be doing. But
not going in to drink beer at the brewery.
Yes.
So, sorry, dogs. I have dog issues.
That's all right. Well, there's lots of cool things that are happening, and maybe this is bad foreshadowing. That we'll look back, but 2 weeks ago we had mentioned, because I was very proud of the fact that our website got found by these really nice people out of Brooklyn area. They were thinking about getting out out of town and moving down here to the Eastern Shore, and the whole looking for culture and fun and interesting stuff. Well, they went ahead and they made the move, and they're down here now. They actually stopped by the house. And what's great, and just in terms of like perfect scenario, first impressions. So we Natalie and them and emailed back and forth, and I think I had mentioned that it's like, oh, we like craft beer and motorcycles and skating and music. Yeah. And so we decided sort of last minute a week ago, last Sunday, to have to open up the Crowbar. It was a nice day, so we're just kind of shot it out there to everybody. Hey, 3 o'clock rollover if you're in town. Well, that's when they decided to stop by, and Brian shows up, so you got the beer covered. Billy Todd and Nate Clendenning show up. Nate actually brings his guitar and is strumming some tunes. Justine from the Blacksmith shows up, and it was just like a great, what seemed to be a very random combination of people. And it happens more often than you might think. These people getting together.
But it was just all the right people.
It was all the right people, all at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is so, and so yeah, we'll see. They're getting, I guess they're getting settled in and looking for a place to buy, and and we were talking about what they were paying in rent up in Brooklyn for, what's the size of the chicken coop versus what they can get around here. So
Well, the only downside, and unfortunately all of us Northerners find this out the hard way, is that the pay is commensurate with the rent. They're like, you want me to do this for what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how do you people eat on that salary? I laugh because I've got a buddy who essentially he does IT. He does IT work. He reboot. Did you reboot your computer? Did you download anything? Just and. He probably makes 4 times what I make, but at like a job that doesn't have like the same skill level, and it's just like it was always very difficult for me, especially when I was in the newspaper business, to see what like someone running a weekly newspaper, for instance, in my hometown, really made 4 times what I was making running a weekly newspaper just outside of Ocean City.
Right.
And so that's the difficult part for newcomers. It takes a little it takes a little adjusting. But when you come down, the upside is you usually have enough in your bank account to to get organized. One of the things that I think we're going to find more and more often is a lot of these people are selling out and moving down here. A lot of these older folks. It's been happening. Look at Ocean Pines, right? Everyone from Ocean Pines is either from Baltimore, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. I mean, they're just people who cashed out their houses and bought enough and were able to pay cash for their house and then set $100 bills on fire once a day and still have plenty of money to buy beer. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever they need to entertain themselves. But so hopefully they find a nice spot and helping them out with the job search a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But like you said, maybe it's hopefully it's not terrible foreshadowing for what may come.
Do you know what they do?
He was well. That's the thing. He was doing IT work for a law firm out of New York or something like that. I'm like, oh well, there's always help needed for IT stuff. You just have to bear in mind that many of the businesses around here are still faxing handwritten notes back and forth to one another. So. I'm sure it will be an adjustment. I tried to paint as honest a picture as I could, but again, it's hard to it's hard not to point out that we're doing what we love and living. So,
well, I mean, in many local businesses, in too many local businesses, the secretary is also the IT person. You know, it's like, oh, I learned how to use Word back when it came out. You know, and have you rebooted? You know, it's just
right.
we have one of the guys who's on our board, on the foundation's board of directors. He still, God bless him, but his job, he essentially does like office machines, like copiers. I cannot believe that there's still such a thing as copy machines, let alone people who sell and repair copy machines.
Right.
So mind-boggling to me. I'm like, we have a Kinko's. I've seen it. You know, what do you need copy machines for? You know, I work with kids a lot, and every time I send them an email with our agenda for the next meeting, blah 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 blah, it always says, I'm not bringing paper, so print this yourself, memorize it, or put it on your phone. But I'm not going to hand out paper because this is the 21st century. And
wait, you say that, or the kids you're set?
Oh, I say that to the kids, and then they always get there like, oh, I didn't have it. But that's a different story.
That's those dumb millennials.
Well, it's not merely that. When I was thinking about this morning, at length, when I got here, or what people I think have trouble realizing is that if you produce if you produce at half your normal rate when you get to the Eastern Shore, you're still producing at twice anyone else's normal rate.
Right.
Whenever I'm afraid, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can find a job. I'm like, no, you can, because you still work when you have a job,
Right.
And working isn't what we do well here. We have a fun time,
Well, and then
we've
made a job out of having a fun time. So that's a small market, but we've been able to do it. But I get what you say, because when I was in the construction business, when I had my own business, and I used to say all the time, it being a home repair or renovation, addition, that sort of thing. If you're sober and show up, you have a leg up on 90% of the competition.
And again, let me bring it back to the book, because I love to talk about my book. I was listening to an interview I had with Brian, and he was having trouble finding people to come in and do the work. And I was working as a reporter at the time, and you go and you talk to a lot of these developers, and like, oh, there's no work, and I'm like, really? Because no one can get phone calls returned. I have cash to pay someone to fix my house. It took me longer to find someone to show up than it did to save the money up.
Yeah.
Which is astounding, I mean, but it's not radically different. For instance, my parents did a renovation, and they just used drunk guys out of the bar. But they used them out of a local bar, so they could walk down to the bar and say, okay, let's go.
My Natalie's uncle Bobby worked construction, and this was on the other side of the bridge, and there was like the back door bar that he would go in at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, all right, guys, I got a roofing job, and who needs something today, and pick up a couple guys that way for sure.
That must have been pre Home Depot Mexicans and Nicaraguans.
I think that is the case. It was pre getting a Latino on the corner.
Right. And so, speaking of Natalie, she had another show. That's her third show that she's had.
It's her third. I'm going to say it's her third show. It's been really cool. A couple of the photos behind me here from G Love and Death Cab for Cutie, but she does the live music thing. Very early on, Justine over at the Justine at the blacksmith, while she was setting it up, she said to Natalie, "I'd love to have some of your art hanging in here." She's a rock and roll girl. She's actually a punk rock girl, but so it was a very kind of nice thing, and everybody around town does stuff for Second Friday, and they'll
right.
have artists doing different things. But it's Justine was more concerned about having almost like a permanent installation. I don't think that it's permanent, but it's definitely a different feel than just like, hey, let's throw your art up on the wall and then you can help promote it. She was definitely all about creating a space that was specific to Natalie's photography, and they're all black and whites, and they go together and they're all kind of there's a series that's all Eastern Shore based, and then there's some of the music that's intertwined in that as well. So it was really neat, and they had a whole, I'm not knocking the other businesses in town, but they had a whole reception. They're closed on Wednesdays, typically there at the blacksmith, and they opened for basically a little reception for Natalie and for her art. So it was a good time, and we really appreciate them supporting locals and supporting art and that sort of thing. So.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to talk about was with the blacksmith is that I just got a note from Christy McDowell, and the blacksmith is participating in her recycling program, which she really hopes to expand to the whole Eastern Shore. I don't know how familiar you are with it.
I don't know the recycling program. I know that they're doing. Their mission is to work with as many local people as they can, and food and they're definitely farm to table in every sense that they can.
And this is actually would be table to farm. There's only gross ways to say it, which makes me happy because I love saying gross things. But
right.
This is food recycling, and so what Christy does is she arranges to compost all of their compostables. So they have a great huge, or several, I guess, great huge garbage cans where they throw everything that's not milk or meat. And Christy picks it up and she composts it, and it reduces their load on the environment. It reduces their bill, their per pound bill. They don't need their garbage picked up nearly as much. Christy, I don't know how far she's gotten, but she said I think she had 4 or 5 restaurants who were already participating. But she has a vision. She has a vision for eventually converting all of Ocean City to this. And if you'd like to ask your newfound friends from Brooklyn, there's actually New York has quite an extensive composting program, restaurant composting program, and they have garbage trucks that go around and pick up unused food except for milk and dairy and meat. And they have this great huge it's actually in, I think it's uptown. I don't think it's in Brooklyn. But they have this great expanse where they put all of the food and they compost, and they use worm composting, as I did with the vermiculture we discussed. And they do worm composting, and they just turn that all into dirt, and they turn garbage that used to be into dirt. They used to have to go on barges and just go sit out off the coast of Jersey until there was room for it. They're turning it all into dirt, and it's very exciting.
That's cool.
I think it's cool work that Christy's doing.
That's excellent. Maybe we should bring the Brooklyn folks in, and even though he's IT, he can start composting stuff, because who wouldn't want to move from Brooklyn to Berlin to start picking up trash and
table to farm. Yeah, I think that's I've just named that table to farm, but I think it's going to stick.
I like it. That's cool.
We got a lot of other stuff on this list. I don't know how much we're going to get to. Do you want to talk about the green screen a little bit?
Well, we're just. I was going to mention, as I had mentioned off air, that we purchased some lights and some green screen. So that we're going to be able to Todcast from. We could do from Brooklyn. We could do from Mars. We could do Hello Kitty land or anything like that. So we're going to be playing with that a little bit. I actually took some drunken video clips of people and set up a sort of I've always wanted to do the bar soup. So me referencing, videos, kind of like Tosh.0, kind of like the Talk Soup, where Greg Kinnear started it, and
right.
talking about the shows and everything that's been coming through. So we'll do a little green screen action and get fun with that. But I mean that's no big deal. What we have coming up are a busy summer and a busy couple weeks ahead, and things are looking good for having fun and the whole business.
And so let's then get to the Dock Bar this weekend and third Friday for the wheels.
Yeah, so we're going to be up in Kent Island at a benefit that our buddy J.J. Roth is hosting over there at Red Eye Dock Bar. It'll be a good opportunity for us to get up there and donate our time to be able to document an event like we do and hopefully get a little publicity. But then if you're local and you're in the Salisbury area, definitely stop by the third Friday in Salisbury this week, where the theme is wheels, because they're looking to help support the Salisbury skateboard fund. So that's the Salisbury Skate Park is alive and well. And
that's fun.
Yeah.
But they don't actually have one, right? Is there a plan for having one?
No, it's something that they had put together I think a while ago, and I think it's it kind of got tabled for a little bit, and I don't know if Jake Day and these guys have the administration is now looking to improve things and incorporate more of that sort of thing. So I think it's has had new life breathed into it. So
that's awesome. We have a skate park here in Delmar. It's not awesome, but it's cool. It's two half pipes. Half pipes? I don't know.
Yes, half pipes.
It's a skate. They have a ramp. The ramp goes up, across, and down, and then they have tourney guys that are maybe 4.5 feet, 5 feet tall.
Tourney guys. I like tourney guys.
They go up, they turn, they come back. They go up, they turn, they come down. And that's the Delmar skate park, but it's across the street from my house. The kids seem to like it. I mean, one of the things that concerns me too often is we pretend as if you're going to do something, you have to be able to go pro. So, for instance, a lot of the softball and a lot of the baseball and a lot of even the football around here, they are like, well, we're going to pretend starting at age 7 that you're going to make a living doing this, and we're not going to need to learn to read or write or to add, but we're going to need to learn how to, I don't know, spin a softball or whatever the hell you do.
Yeah.
But with skateboarding, it seems to be like, oh, well, at least they're out of the house. So we don't, in Delmar, it's one of the few things where they don't feel the need to make it so over the top. Like you're not going to go pro practicing on the Delmar court. But that's okay, because guess what? If you're in Delmar, you're not going to go pro. I mean, professionals have to have a drive that if you're going to do something professionally, you have to have a drive that goes above and beyond anything anyone locally can provide you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the thing that I think too often we miss.
Well, and just quick commentary before we go. Skateboarding has developed a little bit of that in and of itself. Kids thinking that they're going to go pro and making sponsor me tapes and that sort of thing. And me being the 40-year-old that still skates occasionally when I can. Somebody had said to me 15 years ago probably. Just basically stick with what you know, and
right.
If you have fun at it, that's all that matters, and that's what makes it enjoyable. That's what makes it recreation. And yeah, I think I agree with you. We're a little bit lost on actual recreation. It's all
Absolutely.
Means to an ends or something.
But we're going to have to take care of that next time, because we are all the way out of time. We are more than all the way out of time. So I got nothing else anyway. What do you got?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, may Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at Happy Hour.
Cheers.
Cheers. For more, go to goodcleanfunlife.com for podcasts, event calendars, articles, and more.
Call or text us at 703-828-GCFL.